I'm super excited now to introduce you guys to Nicole Martin. And this is the part of, our core values where we want to bring excellence to you guys, excellent speakers, people that are really, going to help you guys grow your businesses. And so we are committed to continuously improving and striving for our personal best, and we want to help you guys do that. And so we're super excited to have Nicole Martin here speaking and sharing her expertise on emotionally speaking. So I'm going to do a proper introduction for Nicole before she comes on. So I'm going to read her formal intro. So Nicole Martin is the Chief Empowerment Officer and founder of HR Boost. And HR shared services consulting firm. It's based in Chicago, Illinois. In recognition of her professional excellence and as well as her community, Nicole has been honored by multiple organizations, including most recently as one of Mirror Review's 10 game-changing women in 2019. She is an awardee for business excellence by the Chicago Daily Herald and a 2016 Enterprising Woman of the Year champion by the Enterprising Women magazine. She's a sought-after expert. Her knowledge and advice have been featured in newspapers and magazines throughout the country. In addition, Nicole is the host online of HR in the Fast Lane and a contributing writer for the Chicago Business Journal. Nicole has authored International Literary Award and Amazon bestseller. She's The Talent Emergency is the name of one of her books, the accompanying Talent Emergency Guidebook. She also has The Human Side of Profitability, The Power of Joy and Purpose, and her newly released co-authored book, No Fear, Negotiating for Women.
Cool.
So lots of books. Nicole serves on a number of boards dedicated to human capital, culture, and HR excellence, of which include Best and Brightest Companies to Work For, Social Service in the Community, and Women in Business. So if you'd like to learn more about Nicole, you can go to her website. She has two, hrboost.com as well as nicolemartin.live. So thank you so much, Nicole. We're so excited. I love this little photo of you on here. This is so cute. Great brand photo. And so we're going to go ahead and let you, if you want to, I don't know if you have.
Yes, I have some slides, so we'll just share screen. Flip over.
Go ahead and do that. You have controls to do that.
Okay, so let's see, I'll go in.
So the bottom and just hit share screen.
Let me open up to full screen again. I went down to the little screen first. Here we go. Share my screen. Here we go. There we go. Is it going to give me the PowerPoint? Let's hope and pray. Can you see my slides?
Yep, and I'll just put timing in the chat for you so that you know how much time you have left, okay?
Oh, aren't you a sweetie? I love it. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to say thank you so much to Jen. Thank you so much to Gail. Thank you so much for Lori, who I know you're out there somewhere on this call right now. It's my absolute pleasure and honor. I'm humbled to be asked to be one of the speakers in front of engaging speakers. I don't consider myself to be a speaker, and it took me a long time to consider myself to be a speaker, just so you know that. And it's only because a lot of people kept calling me and asking me to come and speak. And so hopefully you'll get something out of just my presentation today that lets you know what I do different or how I've gotten to where I'm at, because to be quite honest, it's really about what I'm about, which is I'm about joy and purpose through your work. I'm about every single human being knowing their God-given graces, and yes, I'm going to say the word God, their God-given graces to have joy and purpose through their work. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but I just listened to you guys for like the last hour and it was business as usual. And for me, this is a very unique time. We are living through something right now, honestly, that we will never forget. And I think whether you're healthy and vibrant or sick, what we're living and why we're on this video call today and why I'm not standing in the room in front of you is something that's extremely distracting, and we're wearing it on our heart, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. And so I want you to look at these faces on this screen and really think, how am I really feeling right now? And I want you to write it down on a piece of paper, because I'm going to challenge myself to help you change the way that you're truly feeling. And you're not going to share it with anybody unless you want to. By the time I'm done, I want to positively raise your vibration. Okay? I want you to actually go deep inside and say how I'm really feeling today. What did I really bring to this beautiful day, this sunshine day? Did I bring all of me? Did I bring my mind, just my thinking brain? Did I bring my heart? Did I bring my physical presence so that you could feel my hug? There's my hug, you guys. Can you feel it? Did I bring all of that to whatever I'm doing virtually today, to whoever I'm coming across? So emotionally speaking is something that I think we timed this, right, Jen? We timed this probably months ago before even all of this stuff has come down onto the universe and traumatized us all, to be quite honest. And I think that what's ironic is that we're going to really dive into something that couldn't be better timed as far as I'm concerned. And so we're just going to dive right into it. Make sure you wrote down how you're feeling today. And then I want to get real with you guys. And I'm going to do my very best to be 100% authentically real with you and bring both my brain and my heart and my physical little hugs that I'm sending out to you. And hopefully get us out of this first circle. This first circle is the fear zone. Some of you might have seen this image. I put it out there on this last Sunday on social media. And this is something that's trending around other people's feeds as well. This is it hasn't been claimed by anybody. I did not create this image by myself. I found it on Jeannie Malnati's feed. We're Facebook friends. She's a culture guru. And she's all about spreading hearts. And so I've been spreading it out there with a hashtag spreading hearts. And I think it's a beautiful visualization for those of you who think more than you feel, maybe out loud. And then I'm going to tell you something that relates to this that I feel for those of you who like to learn kinesthetically or who like to learn through story. Okay. So the fear zone makes sense. All of us are familiar with fight or flight, and all of us understand that how we're feeling emotionally is something that is internal to us and maybe not always seen, maybe to the person that we're with or even across video, for example, but it is definitely felt. And how we make other people feel from the minute that they're with us to the minute that we leave them is exactly how they're going to remember you. And a lot of people won't remember what you're about or what you said. They're going to remember how you made them feel. And when you think about this, the physiological response to stress, which I can 100%, I'm going to make an assumption, but a pretty valid assumption, which is 100% of us have gone on the biggest emotional roller coaster of our lives potentially in the last 30 days. And we are exposed to right now what I would consider chronic trauma, because it's not just one event. There's a stressful event happening every time you get off this call and you go back and you check the news, or you turn on the TV, or you turn on the radio, or you talk to a friend who just experienced a death that they couldn't go and mourn with somebody that they loved, or somebody who just witnessed a new grandchild being born and they couldn't go hug the baby that they just held. A lot of people are being stripped of things that are general given things to them right now. And those people are feeling this readily. They're being brought to their feelings right away. But those of us that are like me, that are just business as usual, which if you know me really, you'll know that I run a team and I have people calling me. And about probably 2 weeks before we got the shutdown in the state of Illinois, my phone was ringing off the hook. And my emails were drowning in emails from business owners. Business owners were already reacting to what's happening right now with COVID-19 2 weeks before the rest of the state caught up to it. And the bottom line is that these people were emailing and they're in what? They're in the reactive zone. And when you're in the reactive stress zone, your brain releases cortisol. And that cortisol essentially blocks your long-term memory for about 5 minutes to be exact. But in addition to that, it puts you in a place of right here. So I don't see you guys right now. I'm right here. I can see only my family, myself. I go into a negative first me zone and I have to protect me. And you guys all saw it on your Facebook feeds, right? Shopping carts full of toilet paper and people hoarding and people panicking. You saw it, you felt it. You might have been one of them. And that's okay, because that's our fight or flight response. That is a visible symptom that people are stressed. People are in the fear zone. And we, as human beings that are service to others, and I believe all of you are, we have to remember that every single person that we come across right now is potentially right there and still right there, unless they happen to have already done the work to go into the learning zone or the growth zone. And some people can go into the learning or the growth zone by thinking it. But now I'm going to give you another example of how those of us that are brainiacs that love what we do and that we do it on auto, even when we're not really present because we're good at what we do. Is that fair to say? Some of us that are really good at what we do could do it smiling all day long, but be feeling something totally different inside. I did that triage, I call it HR triage, for about 2 weeks. My husband, you guys, is retired. It's crazy. So he's home, he's raising our kids. I decide Friday, right before the state shut down. You guys all remember the day. You'll remember where you were forever, probably, because it's similar to like a 9/11 trauma. And the bottom line is the minute that our freedom was taken from us, which is really what it feels like to a certain degree, I went home thinking I'm going to be going home and I'm going to be staying home, right? Right here in my 3-season room. I'll be stuck in my 3-season room, just like you're stuck in your kitchen or your office or wherever you're at. And I had accepted that, I thought. And then I came home to my husband, and my husband said, we're getting on a plane. I've confirmed the flight, I've confirmed the private beach, I confirmed the resort, and we're traveling. I said, excuse me? He said, yes. This is when the Humvees were coming in on the flatbeds, you guys, and coming into our state. And I'm thinking, we're leaving? And then I realized when he was going to leave with my children, without me, I better buck up, right? And in that moment, I still bucked up and I packed my bags and we got on the plane. This is the Saturday that Pritzker shut the state down. We got rerouted. We were in Houston. I got off the airport in Houston. Chicago O'Hare, empty, you guys, empty. Talk about social distancing. Nobody was there. You get to Houston. Houston was going back in time. There were people at the bars. There were people walking around. The airport was crowded. I didn't see a single person wearing a mask. And I had been in Chicagoland where we've been kind of in shutdown mode for probably the beginning of March, I'll say. And I still had not acknowledged that I was feeling anxious. I was still the person saying, it's okay, we'll just catch the flu, it's not a big deal. A lot of people maybe felt that way right back then. But then when we stood in the Panda Express line and my 11-year-old child got in line and he was less than 6 feet from the person in front of him. And it was the first time I'd been around humans, I want to say in about 30 days, because I quarantined before that and been working virtual, etc. When you think about when you're going to get back next to people, a lot of people in a crowded room, I can tell you I had the preview of that, and it's a rush of anxiety. It's a rush of anxiety where I grabbed my child. He was standing there ordering his food. I pulled him back and I said, you're not 6 feet away from that person in front of you. And then immediately later, I felt the responsibility of how I traumatized my child in that moment. That is what we're going to get into. All of us who are speakers on this phone, who are givers, who are lovers, who are servers, who serve the human community, who want to do good things for human beings, we are not even into the real triage of this yet. It's going to be when the light switch comes back on and everybody goes back to work as normal. So now that we're really there, I really want to know how you're really feeling, and I hope you wrote it down. And now we're going to talk about how we can bridge to people in an authentic way, in a real way, so that you can actually help them experience joy and purpose, but more importantly, so that you can have joy and purpose in your day, so that you're exuding that love, you're exuding that happiness, and it's coming from a place of true generosity and kindness. Okay, you guys remember these pink slips? Some of you are as old as me, some of you might be younger, and God bless you. Those of you who are recognizing these pink slips, this is when I came into HR back in the 90s. So back in the day, this is when I learned the ugly side of the human experience in business, which is people just got this little pink slip right here in their paycheck. That's word that you lost your job. No communication, no meeting, nothing more than a little pink slip. And by the way, you're unemployed. And what's really crazy is that this is something that I use as a good example of when I saw the breakdown of communication of how people actually touch another human in a point of something that requires some emotion. And what's ironic is that this is an old story for me, 1990s, but what I can tell you is what I just went through in present time, we're back here again. We have just struck a point in time where a lot of people just got their quote unquote pink slip. So whether they're the business owners that you're calling upon or the business owners that you happen to be, those people are already thinking about how they're going to sustain their business and then breaking inside because they realize that they have human beings that rely on them for livelihood. And then you have millions of people right now who do not know the future, do not have a job, do not have a check. And so if any of us show up as business as normal right now, forget it. It's going to be perceived as insensitive. Whew. This is where we are. We're all right here on this business as usual, but it's going to be business as we go forward. And I think Lou said a good story, Louis, said, this is where we're going to be. We're going to be virtual, right, Louis? I think you said that. And the bottom line is that it's true. We're really going to have to connect with people virtually, and we're going to have to help them feel our message and what we're about virtually. What's unique about this is we have 4 generations in the workplace, and not every generation is really up on this, if that makes sense, or comfortable with it. And some of the bigger businesses weren't even set up to have virtual business. Bottom line is that 1/3 of human beings, 1/3 of the human population is not comfortable with remote. They might actually be the bubbliest person that you saw at the office, but the minute that you turn them into their homes and they're not touching and connecting with people, they're vulnerable to become depressed, sad, and lonely. 1/3. Another 1/3 is going to be just fine with this and will adapt no problem. and they've been kind of put into their comfort zone, and they can stay there, to be quite honest. Then you're going to have another third that ultimately are so detail oriented, but they're used to hearing, observing, being the quiet one in the room, and they can observe things. And they're used to maybe being on a call like what we're on right now, where there's like Hollywood Squares, right? 25 of us or so, I don't even know. And we can feel each other and we can feed off that energy. And so it gives to us. But if the person's not having these kind of situations where they're going out, being proactive and having that networking event, communicating with people, etc., and they shut themselves off, those people also could become very ineffective very quickly. And so emotion has everything to do with everything that we're doing, whether we're doing it virtually or not. And I think that that's something really that I really want you all to take into consideration. EQ, these are the initials for emotional intelligence. And some of you might be up on emotional intelligence. Some of you might love it as much as I do. And I want you all to know that it's fairly new in the terms of psychology and psychological studies. You all might have heard of Daniel Goleman. He's the founder, wrote the book of Emotional Intelligence back in 1995. And there's a lot of talk and buzz about emotional intelligence. And there's some people even saying that they can measure your emotional intelligence. But I'm going to debunk that myth today for you. Because when you think about this EQ persona and what it means to you, we all have our IQ, which is something that if you're a parent or if you've heard about it, it's solidified by the time that you're 7 years old. So it's our cognitive abilities, our IQ. But the opportunity of EQ is what we're all doing right now. And what we're really going to be forced to do going forward, which is to tap into our own emotion, understand where we're at, but then more importantly, understand where you are. And that's 2 points in time. That's me and that's you. That's the only way to measure emotional intelligence. It's you seeing me and me seeing you and us meeting in the middle. So it's something that people think is easier said than done, right? I hope you all realize it's much harder to realize that some people aren't the exact same of us. They don't have the same lens as us. I think it's easy to believe that you've never run into somebody that's quite exactly just like you. Your uniqueness is going to be your differentiator. What makes you extra special, your cognitive abilities, your IQ, the parachute that opens for you is probably different than mine and every other single person on this call today. And many of us take our gifts for granted, many of us. But if I told you, if you've ever run into a child, you immediately can see the child and see maybe what's special about them. And those of us that are parents can actually meet those children and say, yeah, I used to think I had something to do with that, but now I see I'm really just their guide, right? It's like, hi, mom, hi, dad, it's nice to meet you. And so when you think of like those kind of analogies of the youth, and we understand them to be special, we even tell them they're special. But then we grow up and we come to work and we're all business people. Maybe we're freelancers, solopreneurs, business owners that employ other individuals. But we sit back and we never go back to those human beings and work and say, what's special about them? What makes them really special? What are their gifts? And have I put their gifts to work? Have I helped them experience joy and purpose through their work? And that's an opportunity for all of us. But in order to do that, we really have to start with ourselves. Because if you don't know how with your own self, your own IQ, your own self-awareness, then how can we go ahead and bridge to the next person? It's kind of like that love analogy. You have to love yourself before you can love another person. You have to give yourself your own mask, right? Before you give it to your child on an airplane. Any of these kind of analogies of IQ and EQ, some of us don't really even know ourselves. And the opportunity of the situation right now is to get to know ourselves so that we ultimately can help the other person that we're going to go and touch today. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. And so when you think of this, there's this beautiful aspect of, at the minimum, asking yourself, how self-aware are you? And I think one way I can give you a way to think of it is the golden rule. How many of you know the golden rule? Treat others as you want to be treated, right? We all know the golden rule. Thank you for the hands. Thank you, guys. So the ones that know the golden rule, we even go around and tell our kids, you know the golden rule. We'll tell it to 2-year-olds, for heaven's sakes. And I've learned long ago, at least when I was blessed enough to learn about EQ and how I can grow forever in my EQ. Your IQ is set, but your emotional intelligence, every human being can grow forever in their emotional intelligence. because that means you can talk to any single person in the room. Because why? You're speaking in their language, not your own. You've adapted to their needs, which isn't treat everyone as you want to be treated. It flips the golden rule. It's treat everyone as they want to be treated. But how do we know how they want to be treated when we haven't taken the time to see that, ask that? And most of the time you won't get a good answer because they won't feel safe with you until when? Until you share. So make sure that you're sharing who you really are, your self-worth, your beauty, and your fear, how you've worked through that fear, how you're working through the anxiety right now, and how you're here to help and serve. This is a pressure cooker. Anybody have a pressure cooker in their kitchen? Boy, can it speed up a shredded pork or something, right? I can make things go fast. What's interesting is that your emotions and the emotional roller coaster that I spoke of when I opened this up is that our emotions go as fast as a pressure cooker, I think. And the bottom line is if you really want to get to know yourself, you need to do some reflection. I'm going to ask you guys to think about how, not just you feel today, but think of situations of pressure and how you reacted to those situations. Think of a situation where you've had no pressure, where you were comfortable, where you were doing what you do, where you can lose time, it might be your hobby, and somebody interrupted you. How did you react? That reaction of the no pressure zone is exactly who you are. It is part of your formula of what makes you special. Now get into another pressure situation. How did you react in a situation where you had negative consequences? If you've had negative consequences, it might be where if you did something or you told somebody something or you didn't tell somebody something or you heard something but you weren't sure if you were to tell somebody something, how did that make you feel? What was your emotional reaction? Think about that. Maybe you have an idea, some kind of situation that makes you trigger how you reacted. You might have other situations where you might want to be liked, where you were doing positive kind of consequences, where you had healthy competition, comparing yourself to another human being. I think people do it naturally. Some people might have even done it already on the call doing the 30-second pitch. You know, we're just kind of talking to each other and trying to do healthy competition. And in that situation, there's pressure, no question about it, but it's positive pressure. So in a positive pressure situation, how do you react? And when you think of your own internal pressure cooker and your form and level of reaction and how you react in both no pressure situations, positive pressure situations, and negative consequence pressure situations, and then healthy ones, how do you react? The more you know about how you react in certain situations, the better it is that you're going to know yourself and be able to prepare yourself to walk in and bend and adapt your style, what makes you nervous, and just show up and really be you. As soon as you know you can own that, you're okay with that, that's who you are. And guess what? Somebody else might be feeling that way too, but they're not going to react the exact same way. If they happen to react the same way, it's going to be of some external relatedness, like two people who lost their jobs at the same time, or two people who were overlooked for a promotion. Those people have a relatability factor. And when there's a relatability factor, that means that we actually can just see each other sooner. And when we're optimized to basically see each other sooner, we choose to basically meet in the middle and we harmonize. Those are where situations can move faster, despite the fact that those two people are not alike. And they may not react the exact same way, but they did choose to relate. And that's an important quality given the circumstances of everything that's happening externally to all of us right now. We suddenly can relate to a vast global community. I was on a call this morning with someone from Tel Aviv, and guess what? We related immediately, and we were thousands of miles apart and on virtual call. The opportunity is endless. The possibilities are endless, but we must connect and see each other in an authentic way first. Okay. You see this beautiful face? This is us. This is us on our video call today. We look good, don't we? We're pretty. We're calm. What's interesting is that this is going to be the face. Imagine this face is every single person you're going to encounter from this point forward. What do you think she's feeling? She just realized that she has to get on video camera Oh my gosh, maybe I've never done that before. I have to have my makeup done, or maybe I don't. You're gonna be able to see me in HD all of a sudden. Who knows what she's thinking? And we won't know unless we ask her, because really this girl feels like this. A lot of us as adults, we've trained ourselves really well to not show our emotion, to not let other people see it, to not let other people see our vulnerabilities or see our anxieties. And this is something I want to uninvite you to do, which is, yeah, maybe you don't have to get on your knees and start pounding the floor like a little child, right? But some of us feel like doing that right now. And that's what I want you guys to be cognizant of. I want you to remember that people that you are coming across right now have been traumatized, and they will continually be traumatized until we're through this. And even when we come back to work, some of us who are freelancers may not, but like for me, when the minute the light switch goes back on, employees are going back to businesses and they're going back into place. Some people have essential businesses and they're doing it already, but they haven't really fully turned it on where people are close in proximity. If they are, then they got the lawsuit that some of the people got on the feed this morning that I saw on social. So this is really going in a lot of different directions. But the bottom line is that I want you to remember that people right now, no matter it's today or 3 months from now or 6 months from now, people are living right here, right now. And we must meet them there. We must come with compassion. We must come with empathy. What's interesting is you've all heard of these active listening skills, but I want to bring it to a place of active listening with your body and your being. You know this stuff. I'm going to assume you've seen it 5 ways, sideways, backwards, diagonal. You know it, you've read it, you've said it maybe. But when people are coming to meet you on your video virtual calls, are you really listening to how they feel? Are you projecting how you really want them to feel you? And have you found a place of relatability with them in your first 60 seconds? Or did you lose them? And the only way to do that is to come with your heart and your mind connected. Oh, you see this heart-based leader in front of the room? Bunch of brains at the table. Bunch of brains. This is interesting. I've had the opportunity to coach and work with an empathetic leader, somebody that actually walks into the room thinking about you first. And we would think that person would be doing very good in this situation, but the answer is that they may not be, because they may be the person that's actually feeling crumbled and not even know what to do first to help the brains feel like they're at the table and that they're being seen and heard. And even though that heart-based leader can feel that in their hearts, they have to understand that the brains are always entitled to the choice. And what I mean by that is we have to invite them. If we didn't invite the brains to come and be heart with us, well, then they're just brains. They might not know that you're heart. So you have to make sure that you're inviting the brains to come and be the heart with you, so you ultimately can be emotionally speaking to one another. You can actually come together with your heart and your mind to do something magical together. That is truly the boundless opportunity. There's so many examples that I can give you that are business related about this, but I really think right now they would be useless. What I'm doing with you right now is the most important thing, is to know how you're really feeling. And if you're running like a brain, I want you to get in touch with your heart. And as soon as you can get your heart going, you have to really feel. I really felt anxiety at the airport in Texas. I really cried almost that 45 seconds later about how I made my child feel. Once I felt that, then I engaged my mind. We must feel, and then we choose to be quiet, feel ourselves, and engage our brain and think. Once we can empower the thinking with the knowledge of how our heart is feeling, then we can make good decisions. Then we can enact, and we're empowered to serve. I want to make sure all of you really got in touch with your heart. Then think, engage your brain, turn it into the magic, and take it forth. There's so many possibilities of that. I'm going to open it up for any kind of Q&A. And I just know that, Jen, I think you said some people could chat and ask questions. I'm wondering if that's a good opportunity for us to just kind of see. And then go ahead and chat your questions. And while Jen's kind of looking at that, hopefully that's okay, Jen?
Yeah, go ahead. You guys can chat your questions, and Nicole, you can answer those questions in the chat as well. Or if there's questions that you need to answer verbally, you could do that too. Lots of great comments
I'm going
in
to give
there.
you my freebie really quick because you all like a freebie, right? So I'll come back to this Q&A, and while you guys think of your questions, and we'll come back and hopefully have a good interaction. How are we doing on time, Jen?
Yeah, it's time to wrap. So if you want to go ahead and give your freebie, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so here's my freebie to you guys. Cognitive assessments, things that actually measure your IQ, were actually only developed in psychology fields in the mid-1990s. So those of you that have been familiar with assessments, there's 88,000 of them on the marketplace today. And I will tell you that if it's DISC or Myers-Briggs or Hogan or any of these things out there, it's not measuring your IQ, your cognitive ability. I'm going to give you the free opportunity to have an assessment from me. It'll be free. It's $125 value, and I can run it against whatever your critical factor is for your career. Maybe you're a coach, an attorney, a businessman, a manager, whatever that might be, accountant. It comes against that. Or I'm going to give you something else. If you don't want that, you certainly need to know how you work as a remote worker. And if you have somebody that you manage or work with, you want to know how they work as a remote worker. And I'll give you a free opportunity to have a collaborative report so you both can have a conversation together virtually of how you can help and support one another. And I would encourage each of you to do this within your buddies on this group. Support each other as remote workers during this difficult time. And that's my freebie.
Awesome. Thank you so much.